Hi, everybody. It's episode 525 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
I'm here.
How's everybody doing today?
Yeah,
Tired.
I feel that.
Me too. Also, it's like that. It's beginning of allergies. It's like the second allergy season of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, scratchy nose, scratchy eyes.
See, the thing is, it's always allergy season. I don't know the last time I didn't take allergy medicine in the morning. And maybe occasionally, like once in a while, I'll not take it. But like I tend to take it, but it's probably my house. Than really airborne allergens outside of the house. I tend to take it all year round.
Have you ever done like an allergy test to know what you're allergic to?
No.
Yeah, so I mean, it might just be dust or pet dander or freeloaders. Who knows? I've never gotten an allergy test done, but just like process of elimination, it's definitely things coming to life and things dying.
Mm-hmm.
Generally trees too, because like I get a little bit when like I mow the lawn, but not nearly as much as just the days where like you can tell there's a lot of like tree pollen in the air. Like when you come outside and your car is just yellow.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're getting to that point in the year where the medicine makes it livable, but doesn't totally clear it up.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, I have to take it in the morning before I leave for work. So, like, by this time of night, like, it's creeping up, and I can't really take another dose, or I'll just if I take Benadryl, I will be unconscious. If I take more Allegra, I won't be able to get to sleep. So I just kind of have to hope for the best and like wait until like the proper time to take the Benadryl, and then I sleep.
Nice.
And I don't notice if my nose is running or my eyes are itchy.
Yeah.
But hey, at least it's nice weather.
Yeah. It's windows have been open for. What did I open them? Let's see. What's today? Wednesday. I turned off the heater or the air conditioner Monday night. Because Monday was a little rough, but at night, like I don't know when the last time my air conditioner had kicked on when I was getting ready to go to bed. I'm like, well, I should just open the windows because it's low 70s, maybe 60s, and it's going to cool down my house faster than the air conditioner will. So I just turned it off on Monday, and it's been open since. And it's beautiful, and I love it. But I have to close the door during recording because there's a pain in the butt golden retriever in this house who will bark at anything that walks by that door. But if the windows are open, the door's closed, he's not even caring. Pain in the butt. Yeah, talking to you, dog.
Yeah, we've had our windows like open off and on since Friday, I want to say.
Yeah, I think I opened them Thursday or Friday, or like at one point last week I opened them and then closed them again because it got hot again, and then opened them back up.
Yeah, like we had them open most of Friday, closed them in like the evening because it was once the sun gets on the backside of the house, it was just getting kind of like humid and sticky inside. Mm-hmm. And then yeah, I think that we did the same thing over the weekend, and then it was open all night last night. Yeah. Today we were both out at work all day today, so they were closed, but they would have been open today too had one of us been home. You
don't just have your upstairs windows open if you're out?
No. We also we don't normally open the upstairs windows because we don't really spend time up here.
I mean, my upstairs windows are open all the time. Like when in this weather, when it's nice out, my upstairs windows are always open. My downstairs windows, it really depends. The front window is closed. The side windows are cracked. But yeah, they're always open at this point because it keeps the airflow.
No, we open up the downstairs, but unless I'm working upstairs, I'll open up the ones in the back room. But we don't really open the bedroom windows because the train. I can't sleep through that because it runs at between 2 and 3 every night.
You should just take enough Benadryl to sleep through that and keep your windows up.
It doesn't help at all. I wear earplugs to sleep, and that train would still wake me up.
Wow.
I am a light sleeper, and because of how many rail like street crossings there are near here, they lay on that horn the entire way through. So it's a train horn for 20 fucking minutes every night. Yeah. It's fucking terrible. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I had my first PT appointment yesterday.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
It was fine.
You doing laps now?
No.
Then what good is it?
It's been one appointment. I was shocked because we didn't do I'm used to doing like the whirlpool when I'm at PT. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You might have seen it before. I don't know if you've ever had to do the whirlpool. I don't think you've ever had like leg injuries, but
no.
Yeah, so it's just a machine you got water in it, and it rotates the water, and you're supposed to move your ankle around and move your leg around while it's in the water. They didn't do that, which was a shock to me. I was expecting that. No, it's just doing a bunch of exercises to strengthen your ankle. That's really all, and moving it around. Pretty much all of this stuff I could figure out a way or just do at home. But,
I mean, isn't that like the whole point? Is like a lot of the stuff they're showing you to do so that you can do them between sessions.
I mean, I think it's more like they gave me a list of stretches to do, and I do those. I'm supposed to do those twice a day, every day. And then the point of physical therapy is to strengthen, so that while you're there, if something goes wrong while you're strengthening, there's at least somebody there to help you. Because like you could really hurt yourself if you go overboard, so that they're there to limit you so that you don't overdo it. But yeah, I was expecting to be in a lot more pain than I was when I left there, but I actually like left there feeling a lot better than I had been on that ankle. Wow, like there's pain when walking, and it's still a little stiff, but like I haven't even thought about like icing and heating my ankle over the past few weeks to help it. But it really helps reduce swelling. Like, it's been so swollen that my shoes are uncomfortable to wear because my shoe size gained a width on that foot, and like my shoe actually felt like it fit after the appointment yesterday.
Well, that's good. So you were actually talking about that the other day, that like you needed to go get new shoes.
Yeah, trying to push that back as long as possible because shoes are expensive. But probably in 2 weeks, I'll probably go out and get new shoes.
I mean, new shoes are good to have, too.
Yeah, but shoes are expensive, and I hate spending money on shoes.
I mean, that is true, too. But what's on the agenda?
The agenda is a whole lot of nothing. There's apparently this indie game called Concord that's being shut down. Cobb, you watched The Watchers, which I don't know who watches that. And me and Cobb had a board game night with Pandemic Legacy this weekend.
Yeah. So have you guys looked at any of the Concord stuff happening?
No, I mean, honestly, I didn't realize it came out. I thought it was still a little bit away from coming out.
My hand is raised. My hand is raised.
Okay.
What the fuck is Concord?
Do you remember
No. No. Like, I'm 100% honest. I do not remember what the fuck Concord is.
No, exactly. That's so at the State of Play around like the not E3 time. Sony in particular had that one really long trailer that was all CG like video stuff that looked like it was going to be some like cool like space RPG.
No.
Wow.
I don't. I'm sure unless I didn't watch this one, which I might not have. I might have. I don't know. When you guys mentioned this, or when you mentioned this in the chat yesterday, I didn't react to it because I just was like, what the fuck is Concord? And then it was brought up to me on stream yesterday. They were like, somebody was like, you should play Concord this weekend. And I'm like, oh yeah, I heard that it's getting shut down or something. Like, yeah, it's getting shut down on Friday. And I'm like, yeah, what the hell is that? And they're like, well, it's like, it's
Overwatch.
It's dollar store Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm like, that doesn't help me.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
dollar store Overwatch.
Yeah, it's a hero shooter. So I believe this was first announced during like the Game Fest week with that. Drew, do you remember the trailer?
I vaguely remember the trailer.
So I don't remember a lot about it other than it was very cinematic.
Yes.
Very story-driven trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Actually looked kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end of it, they finally like swiveled to gameplay and revealed it was just a fucking team-based hero shooter.
Yeah.
And all of my interest fucking just plummeted, along with apparently the rest of the world.
Yeah, clearly.
To throw a little devil's advocate / defense to this game, Overwatch's original trailer, I thought I was going to be a monkey cop stopping crime.
Yeah, I mean, fair.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what trailer... Like, you can watch even Apex trailers, or like, character promos and things like that. Make it seem like it's going to be more than just a PvP game.
I mean, yes, that is 100% true. They revealed this 2 months, though, before it launched, which, like, realistically, like, that's what a lot of people want. Like, they don't want these 6-year long build-ups to games. But to reveal it that close to launch with a trailer that does not... Because they didn't really even show gameplay or get into the gameplay is part of the problem. So other than knowing it was a hero-based shooter, that big platform really didn't show us what the game was. And then there was not enough post that to really get anyone's interest going. Like a couple sites had some like preview access to it, but like it wasn't anything that really generated buzz. And then it just it released 2 months later to little fanfare. And so I have the numbers. The concurrent high for players within like the first week was only 697 on Steam, obviously. And they're estimating sales to be around 25,000 total in the 2 weeks it's been out. And they're shutting it down this Friday after 2 weeks of the game being live. And that's wild because it's a game that's probably been in development for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
It's only funny because of the people that are doing this, but apparently because the game is it's online only, so if the servers are down, the game doesn't work anymore. People are trying to get the platinum trophy before it goes offline, and I didn't have a chance to look into why, but it involves players just killing themselves by jumping off of a cliff. So I assume there is a trophy for like dying a certain number of times. So people aren't even playing the game anymore. They're just loading into games and just jumping off of cliffs. And just, what the fuck? I did see something related to this, though, too. It was either GameStop or GameSpot or IGN, where these games are taking too long to make. So Overwatch was popular 2016. And you figure studios probably started trying to pivot to that direction for the hero shooter around that time, similar to what they did with Battle Royales. But then, like, you do these giant AAA games, and by the time they're actually ready to release, especially online games that frankly just require more testing leading up, by the time they release, like, the fad's over. Like, people have lost interest in the genre as a whole generally, except for the one that they're into. So, like, the people that are into Overwatch are still into Overwatch. They didn't really go to, what was that other hero-based shooter?
Valorant? Is that the one you're thinking of?
Yeah, like, that one's popular with the people that play Valorant, but it's not, like, a game that's, like, exploding anymore. And same thing with Battle Royales, like, Fortnite, still very popular. PUBG, not as much. I don't think the Call of Duty version of it is as big as it was. Like, people still are just defaulting to regular multiplayer for Call of Duty in a lot of cases. And, you know, like, studios are running out of room to be able to develop a game that's not broken and release it before the type of game that they're pushing out has kind of, like, fallen off.
Well, it's also, the problem is, and I was having a discussion with a buddy of mine when he was streaming. He was playing the new Black Ops. I guess it's beta or official release. I think it's the beta. He was playing the Black Ops 6 beta. And the game's crashing, and it's buggy, and it's running like shit, and people are having frame drops, and people are just having a bad time. And you have this AAA studio being published by Activision, making these games that, like, are supposed to be really good, but then you see a lot of other smaller indie games that I've watched him play over the course of the past year that are worlds better than them.
Yeah.
And they're free to play, and people are expecting you to, in Concord's stand, like $40 fucking to play this game. $40 to play Concord, which should have been a free-to-play game. Any PvP-only game should be free to play.
I don't agree with that.
If I cannot have a good time by myself, I don't want to have to spend money on it.
That doesn't mean you have to buy it.
Well, that's the point, though. I'm not going to buy it because I can't have a good time by myself. I have trouble. I'm trying to get people to play. What is that game that I keep posting on my Discord and other Discords? I really want to try out this new game. It's a similar Lockdown Protocol. It's similar to Among Us. It's similar to Among Us. It's only $10. I can't get people to let me know if they're interested or not. I can't get people to come and tell me to play it. I can't play this game by myself because you can't. It is a espionage deception type game. I would love to play it. To be honest, I feel like this game should probably just be free because I can't play it by myself. I need dedicated people to play it, and there's no one who's dedicated to play it. No one's gonna No one's coming out saying they want to play it. It's really hard to get communities I'm in to respond to whether or not they want to play a game. But if I cannot turn on this game that I'm interested in and play it by myself, then I have to play it with other people, then that game should be a free-to-play game. If it's a PvP game and that's all the game is, and I can't play it by myself, it should be free-to-play. Because I'm relying on other people to play it, and if other people aren't playing it, then I'm not playing it.
I mean, you're not wrong there. Like,
the problem is they got to make their money somehow, so then it just becomes loaded with shitty microtransactions.
Okay, they're all cosmetics. Like that is a. I have played hundreds of hours of Apex. I have played hundreds of hours of or maybe I guess hundreds of hours. I don't know of Sea of Thieves. I've played. I can't think of any other free to play games I've really played, but I've played these games, not spent any money on them, had a good time playing them. That's a lie. I did put $5 into Sea of Thieves, but now every season pass I get is basically free because I'm doing the season pass, and when I get it, it's using the money that you get from doing the season pass. Like, if they can make money, it is a money-making a business plan to sell microtransactions. People do it. Games are making money off of it.
They are, but also you have to factor in like what the development cost was on the game. So Concord, by all appearances, they probably spent way too much money on. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a break even for that game that would have been reasonable to hit with free to play. But also like they didn't do a good job publicizing or anything that game, so they're just shutting it down now and just kind of taking the L on it. But
giving everybody their refunds.
Yeah, like
some people, I was seeing some people are hopeful that based on what they're saying is like they might work on it or make it free to play to try to push people into playing it.
Yeah, the wording on the PlayStation blog for it wasn't this game is done. It was we're going to take our lessons and try and come up with a plan. But depending on what the actual budget, the development budget was, Sony might just take the loss on it. Because like free to play, even a free to play game costs money. Like they have to pay to have the servers running. If they don't have a player base to make it worth that, there's no reason for them to put those servers online.
But do they not have a player base because they're charging $40 for a game that people can get two games of that same type for free? Or do they not have a player base because it's a bad game?
I mean, I think at this point it doesn't matter. I think the game got enough bad press that even if it goes free to play, people are going to pick it apart and it's not going to have a consistent player base.
But also, again,
it got average reviews. No one really liked it.
Yeah, no one liked it, but average to me means no one liked it, no one hated it. The game is just the game.
Well, that's what I mean. Sure. Like, there's nothing special about it. Like you said, there are other games that are already more developed that people can go play instead.
You have Overwatch, you have Valorant. Down the line, you'll have Marvel Rivals, which is basically Overwatch, but Marvel. Like, there's all these titles that are already out that are free. They're trying to charge people $40, and the point of the $40, from what I heard, is then you get free stuff for playing it, but that still pushes a development cost for all of the free stuff that you're getting to push people to play it.
Yeah.
You're pushing, and that's the thing, like a game like this, you're pushing a one-time charge to get people to play your game to never make any more money on it unless you also do microtransactions. Or you can go the way of free-to-play and you add the microtransactions where, yes, there's going to be times where there's going to be a lot of players who might not spend any money on that game. Like I said, I never spent any money on a lot of the games I played that are free-to-play. But they might spend money on them. Like, they might like this stuff that you like. A lot of games out there make money off of free-to-play. Warframe is one of those. Warframe is free-to-play and still running to this day.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at Sony's history, they don't do a lot of free-to-play either. Like, Sony pushed a lot of games as a service, and it keeps not working. Mm-hmm. Like Avengers was a Sony title, right?
Yeah, that's where the problem is. The problem is their games as a service is more of the issue than that. Like, Yeah, it's the games as a service that's caused the issue, especially with Sony. You're right.
Avengers was Square Enix.
But wasn't it?
It
Was it
was
not PlayStation exclusive?
It was
No.
PlayStation. I thought it was.
Oh no, the PlayStation had exclusive
Spider-Man
content.
was
They had
exclusive
Spider-Man and a
Spider-Man.
couple other things.
Which Spider-Man wasn't even available at launch. It still took like 6 months for him to come into it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
And
like
I never even got to play as Spider-Man.
yeah, and that's part of the problem is like people generally don't enjoy these games as a service. They either want games that are Call of Duty like not Call of Duty, but like games with multiplayer that are as reliable as Call of Duty, let's say, or games that are story driven. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that we've seen in the last couple of years, including Concord, is coming out of this Jim Ryan era of Sony, where he said a couple of times that like he doesn't think people want certain types of games. And I don't know how much of that was him and how much of that was like a larger body of Sony that he was just regurgitating what he was told to. But like that's not true. Like people want all sorts of different things. Like they're not spending $500 on a platform to only get games as a service.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like we've seen over the last 5 years, we've seen numerous games that had that sort of model fail. Avengers, the Suicide Squad game, even that Gotham Knights game, which isn't really games as a service because it seemed like games as a service and they weren't good at promoting it, flopped because of that. Like people just thought it was a fucking games as a service game. They thought it was just kind of like a hero shooter, but a single-player hero shooter, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, they also, from what I heard with that game, you're kind of forced to do New Game Plus to get the full story of the game.
Which, that I didn't know, but like I played like a chunk of that. It's actually not a bad game. It plays well. The story's fun. Like, if you like the Batman games, Gotham Knights actually was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that free to play somewhere recently?
So I got, I actually asked if you wanted it to ever stream. Yeah. I got it through, the Humble Bundle subscription.
Right. Yeah.
Which it's not a bad game. My only problem with it was I got it on Steam, because it said that it was like compatible, but it was the yellow check mark for, Steam Deck, which it turned out it actually doesn't work on Steam Deck. It just crashes. Mm-hmm. And the things that it was yellow check marked for were like the text might be too small. And I'm like, I can deal with the text being too small or having to manually invoke the keyboard. Those aren't like game breakers. But the game just crashing every like 5 minutes, like, yeah, that is unfortunately not how I'm going to be playing. But like I had fun with it for what I did play for it, and I would like to play it again, but I'm not going to sit on my computer to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I think is Helldivers free to play on PlayStation?
No,
that's like a $60 game, I think.
Yeah, I keep seeing ads for Helldivers on Facebook, is what it is. But
that was part of the problem with Helldivers. Like it launched and no one could play it, even though they spent $60 or $70 on it.
Well, that's another one of those games as service games where it's like it's dying, and it's not because of what Sony did. It's the game the game became stale. I played it.
It doesn't have legs. Like stuff like that. You need constant sort of you need constant content in like innovations, and it doesn't have that.
I played it for 21 hours and I got bored.
Yeah.
21 hours and I got bored. Whereas I'm in my second playthrough of Monster Hunter World and I'm at 76 hours and I'm still enjoying the fuck out of that game.
Yeah, but your taste is questionable, so.
I'm not the only one who feels this way about Helldivers, though. Like,
I mean, I played less of Helldivers 2 and got bored of it.
Exactly. Like, and like the game had a neat concept, but then they kept nerfing things. They kept making things like weaker. They literally kept hurting the players. If you kept playing the game, they made your weapons worse and they made the enemies stronger. Which is like the idea, like they're evolving, but you're also supposed to evolve as well. And that's kind of bullshit. But it's like the game it got boring. Every mission was the same. Every mission took too long, and the progress in that game, it's another one of those issues where there's too many resources and not enough of them in order to progress. So the whole point of the game is you're not playing as your character. You're playing as your crew. You're playing as your ship, and you're supposed to upgrade your ship with the things you find in the missions. But you can only find like 3 things of that thing in your mission, and you need 40 of them in order to upgrade one thing. And it's just like, it gets so repetitive and so boring. And that was a game that I was like, this game looks fantastic, looks so fun.
You were very excited for it.
I was. I watched people play it. I had a blast playing it the first couple of times, but like everyone just stopped, and then the whole bullshit with the Sony PSN connection thing happened, and I was like, well, fuck this, I'm not doing that. And then they stepped back on that, and everyone started playing it literally the 3 days after when they changed that rule and changed it back. Everyone started playing it again. I played it 2 more times, and I told my buddy, I was like, God, I'm bored. I'm absolutely bored of this game.
Right, because wasn't that like your co-op game that you were doing like weekly or something?
Yeah. I was spending 3 hours a week playing this game. And it's like the only way to properly progress is spend hundreds of hours playing that game a week. And it was just, it got boring, and it just sucked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It's funny that like these like games as a service games and multiplayer only games and stuff like that They seem to be waning in a lot of cases, except for like the really big ones. But then you have like
Destiny
MMOs.
2 is ending.
Yeah,
Destiny 2 is like over or something. Like the most recent update or expansion or whatever is the last expansion for Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is over.
which I mean that you figure Destiny 2 launched in what 2017,
something like that.
So like that's actually a pretty good run for it. But you have, like, on the flip side, you still have, like, MMOs that are doing well enough with costs. Like, WoW and Final Fantasy 14 just keep releasing fucking expansions.
Yeah.
And, like, both of them do have ways to play for free up to a certain point. But once you hit a certain level or a certain content area, you have to buy it. And then you have to pay a monthly subscription on top of that.
Yeah.
And, like, they still have enough of a player base to warrant them doing all of that. Like, I think WoW has an expansion coming out soon, if it didn't already just come out. And I want to say Final Fantasy 14 had one either earlier this year or last year. And it's like, they're doing something right. And, like, Frank, like, you guys have both played, like, MMOs. Like, they can be great for a while, but at a certain point, like, that content gets incredibly repetitive and stale, too.
Yeah, like, I got absolutely pulled in and hooked on Final Fantasy. Both times I played it, I got pulled in and hooked. And then I got to the end of the content, and I was like, okay, so what do I do now? Well, you got to do your dailies, and you got to do your weeklies. Okay, well, I'm done my weeklies, I'm done my dailies. What do I got to do now? Come back tomorrow and do your dailies. What's that?
I said log off.
Yeah. Like, and like there, it gets to, and like Monster Hunter hits that wall as well. But again, that's a game that I can sink 100, 200, 300 hours into. And then it hits that wall, but it's a game I only paid for once.
But like, I mean, this is not a shot against you. Like, you also kept your subscription active for what, like a year without playing?
Something like that. But that was always like I was always like, I might go back. And it was that hook that it had in me of like, all these people are playing, and I might go back into it. And that was the first time. Like the second time, once I was done. No, or was it the second? It might have happened both times. But the second time, like I was into it, and I think I just canceled that like almost immediately when I canceled it after I was done. But I can't 100% remember. But yeah, I kept paying for it because I had 100% the intention to go back to it. I was like, all right, well they released new content, so I don't want to like because that's what it was. And I'm a sucker for a streak reward. They were giving streak rewards. So if you were
right, I forgot they were doing that.
If you're subscribed for 6 months, you get something. And it's like since they were doing quarterly releases, I was going back and playing it every quarter. But it was like, all right, well, I want to keep getting that streak reward. And so that's why I kept going with that. That's what it was. It wasn't more of like it was. Yes, I kept at one point. I was like, all right, I'm done with this game, and I kept forgetting to unsub. But that was like for like 2 or 3 months. But the initial was like, well, the streak rewards. I want to have access to my streak rewards. I want to keep getting more because I do plan on going back.
And, like you did. So, I mean, good on you for eventually going back.
I mean, I canceled
and then canceling when you were done.
I canceled my subscription before I went back. And then I went back, and then I canceled again afterwards when I was done again.
And you're going to go back in a few weeks, right?
No, I haven't played that game since Heaven's Ward, which was like 4 expansions ago.
Hey man, plenty of new content for you to get into.
No, I don't have enough time to play that game. I don't have enough time to play the games I'm already playing.
Man, you just become a full-time Final Fantasy 14 streamer.
Again, I don't have the time to play the games I'm already playing, says the guy who's playing his second playthrough of Monster Hunter World. Like, that's just how it is. Like, I was looking, I got Immortals Phoenix Rising, in, when was it? Hold on, let me go back. June. It was on a really good sale for the summer sale, so I bought it. I don't know when I'm ever going to fucking play that. I really want to. It's been a game that I've wanted to play since it came out in 2022. Just don't know when I'm going to play it. But like I could be playing that instead of Monster Hunter World, but I'm like, no, I really want to play Monster Hunter World.
Arguably, you should play anything other than Monster Hunter World.
No, because I also never beat Monster Hunter World.
I thought you beat it like on 2 different platforms.
No, you're talking Rise. And I only beat Rise once.
I thought you beat World on both PlayStation and PC.
No, I got through to the second to last monster release in World on PlayStation, but I never beat Alatreon and I never went up against Vitalis, so I never technically beat the game.
They've got such silly names.
I mean, Vitalis. It's the last boss.
No, I get it. It doesn't make it less silly.
And it's if you make armor out of its parts, you actually turn into Fatalis. Its armor is fatal. You turn into the dragon after you kill the dragon and wear its armor. Make its armor. That's the lore to it.
Interesting. I mean, not really, but...
well, no, yeah, there's just... I don't know. I don't remember how we got onto this, but...
I don't know.
Yeah.
Concord is getting turned the fuck off.
I stand by it. What the fuck is Concord? Like...
Honestly, you should buy it, play it tomorrow, and then refund it.
No, tomorrow's Thieves Thursday. I'm not playing Concord.
Man, get your pirate crew to play with you. This way you at least have people to play with.
They don't have PlayStations.
It's on PC.
They don't have PCs. They're Ox players.
Man, who plays on Xbox?
People who don't have PCs.
Well, tell them all to buy PCs tonight. This way they can play tomorrow.
No, they don't have the money for that.
Fine. So moving along, I watched last night this movie called The Watchers.
Who watches?
What the fuck is this?
So it is the directorial debut of M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
Okay.
Whose name I have already forgotten, so I'm going to look it up again. Ishana Night Shyamalan is her name, apparently. Wow.
He gave his daughter his middle name.
So that's not his real middle name.
I know.
Which makes it even funnier.
Sorry to derail. I just saw that Jedi Survivor is on Game Pass. I'm so excited for November.
Nice.
That's when I'll play it.
But yeah, so The Watchers, it actually just came out this year. It came out back in June, and it is currently on HBO as like a thing you can watch. Or Max, I'm sorry. But it stars Dakota Fanning, and she's like this depressed girl that works in a pet shop in Ireland and ends up in this forest somewhere in like central to North Ireland, because they mentioned Belfast at one point. And once you enter this forest, you can't leave. Like when you try to leave, you just literally get like looped back around. And when night falls, these weird creatures come out and watch you. And then if you're outside still, they take you, and you're never seen again. And she ends up finding 3 other people that have found this like bunker that they're safe in because it has like heavy duty doors. And they essentially go out during the day to like forage for things, and then they all come back at night and they just hide inside this building as they hear these creatures outside. And they have, for some reason, they have some weird technologies. So they have a very old television and like a DVD player, but they only have a DVD of some like Irish or British like reality TV show. So they just keep rewatching the same like couple of episodes of this reality show over and over again. It was like a Big Brother-esque looking show. But like as it goes on, you start to like Dakota Fanning's character kind of like keeps pushing the boundaries because she doesn't want to be there. Like obviously she's trapped in these woods with these strangers. So like they find what they assume is like the hive or whatever of these creatures, and like she goes down into it and finds all of these things that had been taken from people. It almost seems like a hoard of stuff, like something a Little Mermaid would have. There's like bicycles and random knickknacks and stuff of people. And like from that point on, everything gets a little bit creepier. It's supposed. I mean, it's a Shyamalan movie. Like he did produce it, so it's supposed to be like a little spooky and a little bit of like a twist to it. But from that point on, like the people kind of start to deteriorate, and the creatures start becoming more aggressive because the humans have broken kind of the rules that they set, which seems weird since they were trying to break into the building the whole time anyway. But it turns out they could break in the whole time. They were just not really trying. Mm-hmm. But you find out that they can mimic people. So one of the people in the building is a woman, and her husband was there with her, but he had left like a week prior to Dakota Fanning's character arriving. And they haven't seen or heard from him since, and he left to try and find help. And after kind of the stuff with the little like hive that they found happens, he just shows up naked outside the door asking to be let in. And they refuse after like asking him questions and him proving that like he couldn't answer them. And then he just like gets like flown off the side, like one of those like very quick, like supposed to be a jump scare where it just seems like his whole body gets ripped away. Super weird. Wasn't the best movie, but it was at least interesting enough to like keep me watching through the whole thing. And unlike most of like the M. Night Shyamalan movies, I didn't fully expect what happened at the end. Where generally when I'm watching his movies, like since The Sixth Sense, I haven't really had too many of his movie twists actually be twists. Oh, I'm sorry. The Sixth Sense and The Village were probably the two big ones. Mm-hmm. I think most of his movies are actually pretty bad. But like his daughter didn't lean that heavily into the twist, so it was actually a little bit more surprising when it happened. It was also cool. You find out, and like this is more spoilers for the actual movie, but the creatures are actually like fairies that they find like they're inside this building. There's also a bunker, and the person who built the building has all these like recordings and documents and stuff that he left behind. And he basically discovered that like the myths about fairies were real, but people sort of betrayed them and used them and twisted and corrupted them till they became these basically nightmare creatures, and were segregated away to this plate like this. It's not like a parallel universe or anything like that, but like whatever it is, like you can't leave it once you enter it. So these fairies just kind of like keep the people that wander into their like web, for lack of a better term, and watch them because they're trying to learn to mimic them. So the fairies can just turn into people, but because they're not people, they don't totally understand like the anatomy and the behaviors and stuff. So they show some of them where when they first change, like they don't have the right number of fingers, or their eye is like lower on, like one eye is lower on their face than the other, and like weird things like that. And like you start seeing that they're getting better and better at mimicking people. So like when the woman's husband shows up, it was actually just a fairy that had turned into him, and it was pretty convincing to them, other than him not having the right memories. Sorry, I had something in my throat. I had to mute myself for a second. But yeah, weird movie. It's free if you have Max. So if you like kind of a weird suspense thriller more than like a horror movie, it's 109 minutes. It's pretty short. It's worth checking out at the very least. Mm-hmm. It did not do super well in like the box office and stuff like that. And it critic wise, it's gotten mostly negative reviews, but I didn't think it was that bad. Like it's nothing to like write home about, but if you're not spending any extra money, you just have a Max subscription. Like it's something new to watch on there, if nothing else.
Yeah, interesting. It does not sound like my cup of tea.
No, I don't think either of you would actually care for it very much.
Nope.
But like it was an interesting like idea. Like it was definitely something that you could see like the M. Night DNA in there, but it was definitely something different from his normal movies. Like I said, it didn't lean into the twist the way his stuff usually does. And it didn't kind of project it the way they usually do. Like it was very much the movie kind of ends and I'm like, I feel like this isn't the ending. And then it ends up not being the ending. And what, like kind of the reveal that they show then, it was one of those, I didn't expect that to be the reveal. I thought that the twist reveal was going to be that Dakota Fanning's character was one of the fairies or something like that. That like she had actually been taken at some point and mimicked, and they perfected her, so she was the one that became the fairy. And they went in a different direction, and I thought that was actually kind of interesting.
I'm gonna be honest. Just looking at like little just shots from the movie, I got what was that movie called? Midsommar.
Oh, I was gonna say Blair Witch.
I got Midsommar vibes, and I just really didn't care for Midsommar.
Oh, see, I like that one. Very different from that, though. I actually got more Blair Witch vibes from it, but without the found footage aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that the one thing that I think hurt the movie a little bit more was it opens up basically showing you that there's something supernatural. It opens up with just a person in the woods being chased by like these monsters and being like taken away by them. You don't ever see the monsters, but like all of it is inferred heavily, and there's no other way to infer it than it was some sort of creature.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for what they were doing in this, especially early on with when all the characters kind of like meet up for the first time, it could have played very differently if they hadn't just loaded that up front. If it had been something where an hour into the movie you find out that these creatures are actually real, and you kind of get left wondering through most of it whether or not the aliens or creatures or whatever are real. Kind of like the Cloverfield sequel, 10 Cloverfield Lane, where like until the end of that movie you really don't know if what John Goodman's character is doing is actually like legitimate or not. Yeah. He could have just been crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that was a good movie, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
It was, and I think this movie could have been better if it kind of followed that trend and didn't lead with any of the supernatural stuff being real.
Mm-hmm.
Like just let the audience kind of infer what they want from it and see kind of where it goes.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's really all I had to say about it. The Watchers, like I said, it's on Max. It's worth checking out.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, Rich, you and I played Pandemic Legacy some more.
Yeah, we got dogs barking outside. So Chase is barking at the dogs barking, and it's making more dogs bark. It's just a lot of dog barking. I think he stopped. Yeah, we played Pandemic Legacy, and this session went a lot smoother than last session for sure.
Yeah, we didn't just lose constantly.
Yeah. Which, honestly, I feel like the game is just made to have you lose at least the first, if not both, at least January. I feel like the game's just made to lose January. But yeah, we got pretty lucky a lot of times, especially with like the new objectives and things like that we had to do and the new characters that were given to us. But we were able to make it through February, March, and April. And we were able to win February, March, and April, which was like, it felt good. I literally felt good after we ended that night.
Yeah, like that. Getting 3 wins in a row was actually nice. Though we are now in a position where we are almost certainly losing the next one.
It is very strongly possible. Here's the thing, though. Like, our second win or our third win, we didn't use that many of the bonus cards. We just had a lucky draw, and that's the thing. Like that's where Pandemic in general is tough. Is like how lucky how good are the cards going to be for you this time? And we were just getting lucky draws. We were able to clear stuff out very quickly to where we wouldn't have to deal with it later on.
Yeah, like we got lucky with a couple of times with the funding cards, like just kind of having them at the right time. But we did get through that last one in particular, managed to get kind of through that without any major problems, without using too many. Because I think we only had 4 in that last.
We only had 4
in the last game because we'll have 2 next time.
Yeah, we only had 4, which is funny. The first game we played. So Drew, every time you play it, if you lose, you gain 2 funding, and if you win, you lose 2 funding. I think is what it is, right? Right, Cobb?
Yeah, if you win, you get 2 up to 10. And if you lose 2 down to 0. I'm sorry, other way around. Swap that.
So, yeah, if you lose, you gain up to 10, but you gain 2 every month, or every time you lose, up to 10. If you win, you lose 2 up to 0, or down to 0, but we had lost the first 2, so we had 10. But going into February, we only had 9 cards.
7.
Like, had it? I know.
Well,
I thought
we had 8 funding for February, but only had 7 cards.
Yeah, whatever it was. We were 1 card on. We had 1 card less than our max funding. So it was like, oh well, shit, man, shit. But we were able to clear it out, and it just I will say, and I mentioned this when we played. So spoilers for anybody who haven't played Pandemic Legacy and don't want the game spoiled for you. Spoilers now. I was let down that it's always the zombies.
Yeah, like I do wish there was a way to avoid that, and like have something else happen instead.
That to me is what legacy games are, or should be, is the game is different every time you play, meaning, especially a game like Pandemic Legacy where there's 1 of 4 diseases that could be very bad for you, it should determine what you get. So we had our yellow disease is untreatable, but we got the zombie virus, which I believe when my brother played it, his zombie virus was red or blue or something like that. I don't remember which one. But
yeah,
like,
it would actually be kind of cool if, depending what virus mutated after like your first game, if that kind of controlled what sort of kind of mutations happened from there. Like maybe they don't always become zombies, or if they are always going to be zombies, they're not always the same type of zombies.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's only so many rules that they can make to make zombies. Like these zombie rules are interesting because if the disease outbreaks into another city, then that city becomes a zombie city, and they always do zombies from that point on. Like you can't really just do there's just 4 different kinds of zombies. Like I was expecting just like 4 different kinds of diseases in general. I don't really know what I was expecting fully, but like I don't know. I was hoping it wouldn't have just been zombies the whole way down.
But so like my thought after from what you said was so the game automatically tells you like whichever disease had the most infected cities mutates. Like that was the end of January. No matter what, like
it wasn't even end of January. That was the 3rd outbreak in January. Was whichever disease has the most disease tokens on the board mutates, and you cannot treat that disease.
Was it that early?
Yeah, it was in the first episode or first month. It was in the first playthrough. Yeah, it wasn't at the end. It was in it. It was like that happened, and that's how everything went to shit, and why Johannesburg has become what is it?
The worst.
The worst. What's
Ground Zero?
Ground Zero. That's the word. Yeah. How Johannesburg becomes Ground Zero is because we couldn't treat it, and Johannesburg just kept outbreaking. So it's gotten somehow we have kept it from going beyond rioting somehow. But it's still in bad shape, or it might be fallen. No, I might be. I don't remember.
We actually don't have anything fallen.
Yeah.
The highest we've gotten things is to 3.
Yeah.
Level 3 for like the city crumbling. And I think we only have two scars across everybody. Like,
yeah, we only have.
You
2
got
scars.
one. Erica got one.
Yeah, and I only got one because I just happened to be in the city, in one of the cities that mutated.
When it mutated,
into the zombies. When it mutated, yeah, it became my turn after it mutated, and that's how I got the scar. And I was in a yellow city, and we couldn't treat it, and it mutated into the zombies. And if you start your turn in a city that has zombies in it, you get a scar. You can only get 2 after your 3rd scar. Your character dies, and you have to. I think for the rest of the game, you play as just an NPC. Or you play as just a random person, and then the next time you can actually play as a different name.
Yeah, so like through the rest of that particular like episode or whatever you want to call it, month, you're just like an unnamed NPC with no abilities.
Yeah.
But then you can pick up a new character when the next game starts.
Okay. Yeah, which I mean that's cool that they have the multiple named characters. Like they did that with Jurassic. That was how Jurassic Park had it. So it's like, based on the scenario, you can decide what you need more of. Right now, we've gotten into a really good rhythm of having the researcher who can trade freely, having the medic who can heal better, having me being able to move everybody as the transporter, and having Cobb as the quarantine person. But I'm curious as to what other new characters we're going to get and how more useful they may be. And that's the thing. Like, we've gotten into such a rhythm that, like, I would hate to break the status quo and not use this group of characters. But there's a whole mechanic to the game that we're not going to be using because in the game there are you can place military bunkers. So if you've never played Pandemic, the base game, you can go to a city, place that city card down, and you can place a CDC building. Well, in this one, you can do that with a CDC building or a military bunker. And so we can place military bunkers, but only military people can fly between military bunkers. So 3 of us are scientists and 1 of us is a military person. It's like, all right, well, we're just not going to be using that feature of the game.
Yeah. And who knows? Like, we're not even halfway through the year. There could be something that comes up that actually makes those things more viable and gives us a reason to deploy them.
Yeah.
But so just to backtrack to one thing I was trying to kind of like elaborate on. So our yellow one is the one that mutated. And that becomes like the zombies that we have. But I think it would be interesting if, say, like the red one mutates and that dictates like a different box you open up or like a different one of those the things you peel off, and it's a slightly different rule set for those zombies, like with how they spread or how they infect or like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be like wild variations, but like if you look at zombie media, there are a lot of different types of zombies depending on like Walking Dead or Night of the Living Dead or 28 Days Later. Like there's variations out there, and it would have just been cool if, like you were saying, like, yes, it's always going to lead to zombies, but if there was like a difference in the type of zombies, and you know, your play style kind of evokes that. Like,
no, see, I wish it didn't always devolve down to zombies.
I mean, I feel like that was just always going to happen because, like you said, there just aren't enough types of. There's not enough ways for the rules to change for that. Just like in Jurassic Park, like it was always going to get to the point where the guys were trying to steal the dinosaurs. It just came down to like how good you are at stopping them from stealing the dinosaurs.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they could have figured it out. They could have figured out a way to like that's the thing. If you make, I don't think you can make the game harder based on random. I don't think that's right. So like if you had red and red would have been the hardest, they're running zombies, which like let's just workshop a rule. Running zombies, they outbreak on 3 instead of 4. So that means you can only have 2 there at any point in time. And on the 3rd one, it outbreaks around because they're running, they're faster. Like, that makes the game incredibly more harder than just, like, keeping the general rules of it still outbreaks at 4. Like, the changing the rules of what each zombie would do based on the color might make the game a little too hard or maybe not hard enough. But, like, you could still have similar rule sets with, like, oh, instead of zombies, it's, I don't know, plants. Or, like, people turn into plants or something. And I'm not saying zombie plants. They just literally turn into plants. Or, I don't know. I'm making shit up. But you know what I'm saying. Like, a disease that, like, maybe one of them kills people a lot faster. And so it's a little bit more threatening and like maybe depending on what the disease evolves into determines maybe a different character you unlock as well. Because, like, right now, it might turn into, like, oh, well, we gotta kill the zombies at some point. Even though it seems like people do get over being zombies, I think that's how it sounded. Like, eventually people do get better and aren't zombies anymore in this game. It's gonna devolve down into, you're gonna be sending people into the territory to shoot zombies.
Yeah, and, like, I guess we really don't know at that point, right?
Yeah, we don't know what's gonna happen from here. The one really cool thing that the game does is if you play Pandemic, the basic game, you have one objective, and that is to find a cure for all 4 diseases. Whereas if you play Pandemic Legacy, the first 2 months, so January and February, are both just find a cure for all the diseases, for all the possible diseases. So once you unlock the Coda virus, it then turns into you can only cure 3. So find a cure for the 3 while managing the 4th. Then in like March and April, you have 2 objectives. You have to complete like I think it was in March we had to eradicate 1 disease and place a military outpost in all sections of the map, in all 6 sections.
Yeah, we had to do that one.
Yeah, and so we had to clear 2 of them, and there's 2 of 2. And then in April we had to clear 2 of 3. So we had cure 2 or cure 3 of the 4, eradicate 1, and place 1 in all 6. So like it gives you that option. But in May we're gonna have to do 3 objectives. So it's like, well, I wonder if we're gonna get a whole new objective on top of this, or if it's gonna be cure all 3, eradicate 1, and place a military bunker in each. But again, if the objective is always to place a military bunker, hopefully it makes it so that the researchers can fly between military bunkers. Otherwise, like, no one does that objective. There's no reason to do that objective. That does not help you in your game.
Yeah, and unless it's one of those things where you're set up to, like, whatever characters you pick, it's just easier to do that. Like, if you're using the quarantine person and the soldier, they can travel with the bases. So having dropping those bases with both of them makes it a little bit easier to get around the map. So maybe that is a quicker thing than eradicating a disease if you don't have the medic person.
Mm-hmm.
Or if your medic person is dead and you can't use them anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the thing. Like we've been lucky with the outbreaks. We've been lucky with the scars. We've been paying attention. Besides the 1 or 2 times, literally both times, both scars that have happened because of me.
You're right.
The scar on the medic and I wasn't thinking the first time. I wasn't thinking, oh, that's at 3. That's gonna outbreak. No, I was not thinking that. So I was just like, all right, we'll put her there because that's not gonna outbreak. We'll be fine. Nope. That was on me.
And there's that little bit of uncertainty because realistically it might not have outbroken. But I think that was one of those cases where we got the epidemic card that next turn, and when everything got reshuffled, the one that shouldn't have been pulled happened to be one of the first 3 pulled, and you're fucked at that point.
Yeah.
But we are we're more cautious about leaving people in positions for that. And with the medic character, having that character that once the thing is cured, once you have a cure for the disease, I should say, they just have to enter a city to cure the city of that disease. Just makes it very useful to protect them at all costs.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yes, we're not going to put you in a bad circumstance because you're the best chance of eradicating. Because if I want to clear a city, I have to use 2 actions. I have to use an action to go there and an action to cure it. And like, yes, once we have a cure, it's just 1 action to remove everything. But that's still 2 actions per city, essentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's been fun, though. I'm curious to see how May goes, because we are down on funding. April is when they turned into zombies. So there's just, there's a lot of moving pieces. That yellow is just the fucking worst, because it spreads so much across the map, and it's not easy to necessarily get back and forth between them.
Yeah, the problem is it's Johannesburg. The yellow's the worst because it's because they're not well connected, like you said. Like Johannesburg is only connected to 2 cities. They're also both yellow. And it was like, what was it, Sao Paulo or there's one next to Sao Paulo. It's only connected to, like, it's at the bottom corners basically. And so it makes it a lot more difficult to get down there to deal with it, but it's also, we got fucked in January and just kept pulling yellows, and yellow became, and we couldn't cure yellow. Like, that was, we lost in January part 1 because we carted out. And we lost in January part 2 because of too many outbreaks of yellow, because you can't cure yellow.
Yeah, and like that, we were actually set up that like we had everything we needed like planned to actually win January Part 2. And it just happened to be like the very next turn, epidemic, a bunch of outbreaks, moved the tracker down, and game over.
Yeah.
But I mean that's also kind of a cool part is it really is a anything can happen sort of game. Like I feel like Jurassic Park was way easier to plan for a bunch of outcomes and really not veer off of them too much. Like because the weather tracker was very clear. I think we only had one or two times where we had the power go out that we weren't expecting it to happen that turn based on flipping of the cards. So we were kind of preemptively getting somebody into the power station to do like the priming of it. We were putting up a lot of fences around our predators to try and like alleviate like at least one or two rounds of them being able to attack places. Like and even like roads and vehicles and stuff like that. Like we were kind of like we were able to stack everything in our favor in that game.
It was also the action economy was a lot different in Jurassic Park because you can go in any order. Like anyone can go. You just can only do two things.
Right.
Whereas like this is a turn-based game, so you have to go around the table and you can do 4 things per turn.
Right. That too. But I just feel like we were able to because Jurassic Park had that planning phase. We were really able to anticipate things better in that one, and it was set up more for the player to win. Whereas Pandemic is very much it's anyone's game. Anything can happen at any turn. Like we had the epidemic cards get pulled like almost back to back just based on the shuffle. Like because you break that deck into like equal portions and then put the epidemic cards in and shuffle them separately and then restack them. It just so happened that the bottom of one section was an epidemic and the top of the next was an epidemic.
I will say I liked the shuffle this time a lot better than we did last time. Because I don't 100% remember how he was doing. It felt like last time, and again, this is not like a commentary on Matt being a bad shuffler, but it felt like last time he was putting just the cards at the bottom of each set of decks and then putting them on top of each other. So it was always the same amount of time in between. Whereas this time, since he was shuffling each deck and then putting them on top of each other, even with the back-to-back like epidemics, you get a back-to-back, then it's like, oh, well, then we know at least 10 cards are going to go before, or going to be at least 5 rounds before the next time, if not more. And that like gave you a little bit of fresh air.
Yeah, it was like hot potato almost. Like
where
at a certain point we're just like, okay, well, an epidemic card has to be coming up, and it's like, oh, it wasn't you, it's going to be you, and then it's like, oh, it wasn't you.
And that was last time we played. It was literally each round that we played, it was the same 2 people getting the epidemic cards each round. So it was like, I think in one round it was like me and Erica, and then the other round it was like Matt and Erica or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, he may have changed how he was shuffling just based on like rereading the rule for it and realizing like, oh, it says to do this, not this. Yeah. But I know he was separating them into the piles. I thought he was shuffling each pile, maybe. But maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just slotting them into it and then restacking them.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm having fun with it though. Like it's one of those. It's a bummer when you lose, but it's also like it's not the end of the world because you know the game's just going to keep going. Like other than if you have characters actually die, it doesn't seem like the game doesn't change too drastically from month to month if you do lose them. It's just perks and stuff like that go away, and you don't get as much. I
mean, that's the thing. The game will change drastically if you lose, because you're losing because of outbreaks, or you're losing because of being carted out. Most likely you're losing because of multiple outbreaks, which each time there's an outbreak, that city's status gets worse. So
that's true.
The game will change drastically when we start losing, to the point like we have to pay attention to fallen cities. Like if a city is fallen, there's no direct flights there. There's no flying there. We can't have a building there. Stuff like that.
Right.
So like it will change drastically if we lose. Each loss can potentially drastically change that game. And then like the biggest thing we have to worry about at this point is keeping yellow from getting outside of yellow. Because if yellow gets outside of yellow, then that city turns into a yellow. and that makes it even worse.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because it's like the other colors can go into the zombie zones, but the zombies can also go into other zones, and it just becomes a zombie zone after that.
Yeah, once one zombie, or faded is what they're called, because they're translucent bodies and you can see their insides.
That was well, I will give them credit. That's actually a cool like descriptor for it.
Yeah. So once one faded enters into a city, that city becomes a faded. All tokens get replaced for faded tokens, and it is now like whenever you draw that city, it gets a faded token and not a token of its color. Which again, that's another threat we have to worry about is, well, if we run out of faded tokens, game over. Because you got to make sure you don't run out of tokens. So it's like, all right, well, if everything turns into, if a faded goes into a blue city, well, then that's 3 more blue tokens that we have. But that's 3 less faded tokens that we have.
Yeah, exactly.
But it looked like there was a fuck ton of faded tokens. So there's a lot more faded tokens than anything else, than any of the other tokens. Because it could spread. So I think they balance it out very well with it.
Yeah, I mean, the only downside is if it does expand, we still lose, like, you can't cure it, so it's just there.
Yeah. Can't cure it, you can't start your turn in there, can't, like, build anything. I might be able to build stuff into those cities. You can build stuff as long as it's not fallen, but it's just like, it could just be chaos. Yeah.
And I'm sure at some point something like that will happen, and we'll be scrambling. Yeah. I'm hoping that, like, at some point in the year there is, like, we found a cure, but, like, you have to do X, Y, and Z to actually administer it.
Mm-hmm. No, there's going to be. It's going to be like a slowly cure the entire world of the faded disease, or vaccine the world of the faded vaccine, and probably, like, each city, you'll have to go to each city. I'm just going to guess. I don't know. But you might have to go to the city with that city card and use that card in order to administer the vaccine for that city, and then you'll put a sticker on it that'll say it's vaccinated. And if then a faded goes into that city, it won't become a faded city. And then you have to slowly go into faded cities to start administering cures or vaccines to the faded.
I feel like there's a lot of possibilities there for how they could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if we will get to that point, like if we will eventually get a sticker to put onto the yellow that makes it a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah, I'm sure that
makes it manageable at all, because right now the only thing we can do is quarantine them so that they don't spread.
Which is, again, like you being the quarantine person, having me run around and quarantine at least Miami, Mexico City, and Los Angeles, it's like, all right, good, we're keeping it from leaving at least.
Yeah.
We also, since we had that bonus quarantine at the beginning of April, since we won.
We won't have that
March,
again, though.
We won't have that again. But we get, like, I think we get to place an extra building or something in the beginning of April.
I think we get a military building maybe to start.
Yeah. Which, again, like, it's only useful for one person. So, like, we don't really use that aspect of the game. At the moment, at least. We might get new characters that might make it more useful.
Yeah, and that particular, like, thing that they do is kind of the perk of winning, too. Because it's kind of like a double-edged sword with that, where losing, yes, like, depending on how you lose, you might be setting yourself up to be in a bad situation in the next game. But you also get more funding to potentially make the next game a little bit easier. But winning, you get that that win bonus of getting to do something to the game prior to, like, the start of that particular round.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, I love Legacy games. I love Pandemic Legacy. And I'm just curious how much they change with the next few seasons of it, because there's like 3 seasons of Pandemic Legacy, I think.
Yeah, I believe season 0 is actually like a time period one. Like, I want to say it's in like the 20s or 30s or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually a little curious about that one. Like, I don't know that I would necessarily want to do all of them. But I think, like, if I did want to play another one, it would probably be the one that takes place in a different time period, because I feel like that one would at least have different rules and stuff like that, especially for, like, travel.
I'm curious as to if we go from Pandemic Legacy Season 1 to Season 2, if things carry over.
Oh, yeah, you know what?
Like,
I wonder.
Like, do they have you, like, probably not have you be like, all right, set up your game board the exact same way, because I'm sure there's been some time since between, but, like, maybe there is potential carryover or something like that.
Yeah, so I believe you can just. I don't think you have to play like the previous season to play the next one, but it would be kind of cool if there was some sort of like carryover bonus or something that you get. Like if you played season 1 and survived or whatever, you get like you start the game with characters that already have an upgrade.
That's Pandemic Season 2, a fully standalone game. There are elements of the storyline that connect the two games, but you're not required to own or have played Season 1. Okay.
Okay, that's still kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, legacy games are fun. I will give it that.
I love these games.
Yeah, and honestly, like depending on how well the next few months go, we might actually wrap this up by Christmas.
Yeah, we might take care of the disease very quickly. I feel like it's very possible and very easy for us to get at least 2, if not 3, done a night. Like you guys had a long day, but we were still able to get a third done. I feel like we'd be able to get 3 done a day, no problem. Especially if the games go quick. We had some really fast games. I think one was less than a half hour.
I think it's all going to vary depending on what the objectives are.
Yeah,
because like dropping like bases and stuff like that definitely take longer because you need to get the city card to do it. But depending on like what's going on, you also need those city cards for other things.
Yeah.
So like that can definitely drag the game out a little bit. But like that the last round it might have been the second round. One of them where it had to be the last one. We cured and eradicated the diseases super quickly because we kind of had a groove at that point. Like everyone kind of knew their characters. We knew what to do. We were kind of keeping the 3 of us kind of grouped together. So I was trying because a lot of my stuff was like quarantining and then like just doing odds and ends. I was trying to finish my turns in the same square as Matt so that he would get an extra move the next turn because that gave him that little extra like trading resource.
I was always trying to use at least one move of my turn to get you two to the same spot so that you would have 5. It also helps that I can now fly somewhere without having to spend the card. So
you
for me,
need the card.
I just need the cards. So I can easily at this point I can easily place military bases all over the world. No problem. If I have cards of like multiple colors, I could get 6 military bases done in 3 rounds. In 3 turns, which is 15 or 12 turns.
Actually, yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Now, because you don't have to spend the card to fly there, you just have the card, it flies there, then you spend it to build the base.
Yeah, and I could do minimum 2 of those per round. If I don't move anybody else and just move myself, I could do 2 of those per round.
Yeah, and like realistically, like everyone will be in a position to build at least one of them usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that is actually a thing. Like thinking about it now, like with that ability does make it a little bit easier because if you do 2 or 3 in a turn, depending on like how things work out, somebody else could also do 1 or 2, and
that's why I'm also planning on doing maybe 1 or 2 more CDC buildings because I can easily get to the other side of the world and place it, and then like having multiple CDC buildings means we can fly. You guys can fly around a lot easier without me. So do what we can to make movement as easy as possible, so that if God forbid the dispatcher dies, then you can still move around pretty easily.
That's true. Yeah, because then the only downside with the research places are like if the city falls, the research center goes with it.
Yeah, which I'm assuming the token goes with it, but we can put another token down. Like we don't lose the token.
No, but I don't think you can build a new one in a
you can't build a new
city.
Yeah, no, you can't build it in a fallen city. That's why like I'd have to be cautious and figure out where like it would be the best places to put things, and we'd always have to watch out and maybe quarantine those spots and things like that. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of stuff that we can probably start doing now that we have started to like get some character upgrades, get some like frankly like we're getting to a point we've eradicated the red and black one so many times that like they're actually much easier to handle now. Like you don't need to be in a research base to come up with a cure. I want to say red is to the point now where we only need 4 cards to cure it.
Red we only need 4 cards instead of 5. And black, we don't need to be in a research center. So like the research centers aren't the only use at this point for a research center is to cure blue and to fly around. But like that's still useful because it's also an added starting spot. So if
added starting spot and for blue, like because we've tend to have Matt doing the curing because he has the ability to easily trade cards with people.
Yeah.
Having them in a few extra places where he's close enough that can potentially move to on the same turn just makes it that much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. We're in a good spot. I think we're gonna win the next month.
I think we're gonna win at least the next one, but I think we are gonna lose a couple.
As soon as we run out of funding, we're gonna start losing again for sure.
Yeah, either losing full months or at least losing like the first half of a month and having to redo it.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else either you guys want to talk about?
No.
Well, then I think that will be it for tonight.
Yeah.
So if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or YouTube, Spotify. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. All of it helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And Rich, what does your streaming look like?
Twitch.tv/B_1. We're on video game streaming Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Sea of Thieves on Thursdays. Every Sunday is Monster Hunter World. And starting next week, on Monday, the 9th, I will be doing Resident Evil 2 Remake on the hardest difficulty. So yeah, come watch me suffer. And then October again, I mention it every time, is Horror Alien Month with Dead Space, Callisto Protocol, and Alien Isolation. We'll be starting with Alien Isolation.
Nice. Well, with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.